Hi, welcome to my channel, Ms.Ana's Math. Today we're going to learn trigonometric identities. So before, I'm going to explain some of them. Sine of x is equal to 1 over cosecant of x. Cosine of x is equal to 1 over secant of x. Tangent of x is equal to sine of x over cosine of x. Secant of x is equal to 1 over cosine of x. Sine square of x plus cosine square of x is equal to 1. 1 plus tangent square of x is equal to secant square of x. And finally, 1 plus cotangent square of x is equal to cosecant square of x. So first, I'm going to explain trigonometric identities to having like some examples. So this one says, prove that sine of x times cosine of x times tangent of x is equal to 1 minus cosine square of x. So how am I going to prove that? We have that tangent of x is the same as having sine of x over cosine of x. So we're going to do sine of x, cosine of x, times sine of x over cosine of x. So our point on this problem is to prove this side to be equal to the other side. So I'm going to place the same, 1 minus cosine square of x. So if we see, this one is over 1, this one is over 1. So when we have cosine of x divided by cosine of x, it's the same as having 1. So sine of x times sine of x is equal to sine square of x, equal to the same, 1 minus cosine square of x. So if we see on this one, sine square of x plus cosine square of x is equal to 1. So how can we do this to be just sine of square of x equal to 1 minus cosine of x? So what we do is sine square of x plus cosine square of x equal to 1. So we subtract cosine square of x on both sides minus cosine square of x. And what we get is sine square of x is equal to 1 minus cosine square of x. So if we see this side is the same as having sine square of x. So what we write is sine square of x, which is the same we got over here, is the same as sine square of x. So having this, it is proven that sine of x times cosine of x times tangent of x is equal to 1 minus cosine square of x. So let's do another example. If you need time, you can pause the video anytime. So my next example is gonna be cosine of theta, we can put whatever you want, plus sine of theta plus 1 plus sine of theta over cosine of theta equals to 2 secant of theta. So if we see this one is longer than the other, so when we have an addition of two fractions, what we do is multiply this with this one with this one, and this one with this one. So cosine of theta times cosine of theta is equal to cosine square of theta plus 1 plus sine of theta times 1 plus sine of theta is the same as having 1 plus sine of theta square over cosine of theta times 1 plus sine of theta equal to the same, 2 secant theta. So if you don't know how to solve when you have 1 plus sine square, like everything in parentheses, I will give you a formula over here. So my formula is gonna be a plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So in this case, our a is 1 and our b is going to be sine of theta. So what we get is cosine squared of theta plus 1 squared is equal to 1 plus 2ab is going to be equal to sine of theta times 1, that is the same as 2 sine of theta, plus b squared is sine square of theta over the same cosine of theta times 1 plus sine of theta. So we're going to continue everything over here. So our point in this video is to do this part equal to the other part. In some cases, you have to modify both parts. So let's see. Okay, so if we see here, cosine square of theta plus sine square of theta is the same that we have over here. The only change is that we have x. So if we see sine square of x plus cosine square of x is equal to 1. So we're going to take this part and made it equals 1. So we're going to get 1 plus this one that we had already plus 2 sine theta over cosine of theta times 1 plus sine of theta. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 plus 2 sine of theta over the same cosine of theta times 1 plus sine of theta. So if we know how to factor, we see that we have 2 plus 2 sine of theta. So our common factor on the numerator is 2. So what we do is 2 over here, put it outside, and what we have left is 1 plus sine of theta over cosine of theta times 1 plus sine of theta. So 1 plus sine of theta divided by 1 plus sine of theta is just 1. And what we have left is 2 over cosine of theta. That is the same as having as 2 times 1 over cosine of theta. So 1 over cosine of theta is the same as secant of x. In this case, secant of theta. So what we get here is 2 secant of theta. That is the same we have over here. So it is proven that cosine of theta over 1 plus sine of theta plus 1 plus sine of theta over cosine of theta is the same as 2 secant of theta. So let's do another example. Again, if it's necessary to stop the video to pause it, you can do it. So my other example is this one. Sine of theta minus cosine of theta squared plus sine of theta plus cosine theta squared equals to 2. So I wrote before a plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So in the case of having a minus, if you see over here, it's the same, just this sign change. So what we do over here is change this. Sine, this is going to be equal to sine square of theta because this is our a and this is our b, minus 2 sine of theta cosine of theta plus cosine square of theta. So let's do like parentheses. So you identify like this is this, plus sine square of theta plus 2 sine of theta cosine of theta plus cosine square of theta. So if we notice over here, sine square of theta and cosine square of theta, when they're adding each other, is equal to 1. And we have the same over here. So we have over here this plus this is our 1. Minus 2 sine theta cosine theta. Here we have the same. This is our 1. So we have plus 1 plus 2 sine theta cosine theta. So we have here 1 minus 2 sine of theta cosine of theta. And we have here 2 sine of theta cosine of theta. If this is negative and the other is positive, this cancel and this cancel. And when we have left is 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. So this 2 is the same 2 we have over here. So reviewing, trigonometric identities is just practice. You just need to practice and get used to it. Do many problems. So you, when at the moment of seeing something like this, you know what to do. I hope you liked this video and it was helpful for you. If you like it, please click like and subscribe to receive more notifications. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.